unless you planted your own church, you're not the first guy. And you won't be the last. I used to tell the people in Oak Park, I'm the 12th pastor. If Jesus tarries, there'll be a 13th. And there is now. I'm number 12. Lewis Talbot, for whom Talbot Theological Seminary is named, Lewis Talbot, was the first pastor back in 1915. I was number 12. There's somebody else there now. The church has a history. I became, in Oak Park, the repository. I became the repository of the history of our 75-year-old congregation, and I talked about it all the time. I told the story of the founding of the church, which even the older folks didn't know. They didn't know the history of their own congregation. I told them how a group of Bible believers in 1915 came together because they wanted a church that would preach the Bible as the Word of God, preach the gospel and win the lost, and start a world missions outreach that would send missionaries to the ends of the earth. And I told the story of how, because it's in the founding documents of our church, they decided to start a church if they could get together $100. And in their first financial statement, they showed that they had $55 in the bank and $74 in bills. And I said, that's why we have been in the red ever since. You know what you're doing? You're doing three things. Number one, you're connecting with the older generation. You're honoring the people who came before. Number two, you're telling the newer generation, you're not the first kids on the block. There were kids on the block here before you came. And number three, you're providing a platform to inspire the current generation. I used to tell people, my plan for church growth was back to the future. Go back into the past, find whatever. I knew enough history of our church. I could find anything I wanted to back there, and I would use it to say, look, this may look new and radical and different, but back there in the 1930s, with nothing, they were planting churches. If they could do that back then, how could we not with so many more people and so much more money? It's a good thing to know the history of your own church and to lead out of that history into the future.